hello, and welcome to the Bricecast. This is episode 9. I know, I've done 2 back-to-back, but I can't resist when you get good guests, okay? People have to talk to these geniuses of Call of Duty, and fortunately they'll talk to me. So, I'll be Bryce, and I'll be bringing you all the action for this one. Thank you to everybody listening to this on Spotify and YouTube. If you want to subscribe to the YouTube, please go ahead. I always do it at the end, but do it at the beginning here. First of all, my guest, though. Seany, how are you?
I'm doing well, mate. I'm doing very well. As you can see from the recent news, I'm doing pretty well. So,
Yeah, the returning Raven. That's like I
yeah,
said. You are. This is an interesting point, and we've got so much to talk about, like so much to talk
yeah,
about, and we'll get it done as quickly as possible because I don't like taking up people's time. But Seany, like last year, me and you spoke about just
yeah.
trying to get onto a roster, trying to get a sub spot anywhere, to the point now that you're not even involved in Rostermania. Like you're one of the first players to put that contract down and say, you know what, I'm safe, I'm in a roster. How does that feel?
Yeah, like you said, it's a big switch up from last year. Like, it feels good because last year, like I said, you know that I was messaging you a lot. Like,
Yeah.
listen, man, I need help with this. I need help with this. I need franchises to want to like have me, blah blah. And then you helped me out quite a lot back then. And I finally got a sub spot back then and just worked my way up. But it's a complete 180 from last year, pretty much. It's literally the complete opposite. I reckon I was one of the last players to get signed last year. Now it's like I'm one of the first to get announced this year. It's like it's just weird like how it just flipped on its head in like a year.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's like a big kind of stress relief thing, right? Because last year, obviously,
Yeah,
you were looking at. I don't like to call Challenges Oblivion, but Challenges is such a different world from being in the Pro League, right? Like, it's such a
yes,
different kind of looking at everything from career to the stress it puts on you and your family to this year. It must be just. I can't even imagine how weird you must be finding it to sit there and go, well, 45 players have dropped and been released from teams, and you're sitting there going, I'm actually all right.
yeah.
Like,
Honestly, mate, like I said, I don't really know. It's just a great feeling not having to stress it because everyone says it. Everyone knows. Like we played MW like for the whole year. It's obviously a stressful year,
yeah.
whatever. And then obviously you go straight into Rostermania. And then obviously people are fighting for their spots, which is pretty stressful. Like it's very stressful. I can tell you, it's very stressful. And I don't wish it on anyone when like you're at the like try to get in, and it's kind of like I've been there. I know how shit it is. Like well, the way I done, it, I just took it on the chin, took a sub spot, and just worked my way back up. That was like what I had to do, and that's what I've done this year. So it feels good that it's actually worked out, and I don't need to stress in this off season. So
Hey man, I'm all for it. I am all for it. For me, it's like it's awesome to see somebody like yourself just be like in this different situation because for me, it kind of shows at least a maturity of the league or an evolution where people can go, hey, there is at least an example where we can say this player has managed to climb the ranks, come from a sub spot on a roster where people weren't sure whether or not you were even going to get a shot this year,
yeah,
right? Like that is a very real possibility
yeah,
when you were a sub spot. Who you got your shot, you got into it, you did a bloody good job, right? I mean, there were memes about you in construction going around everywhere.
that was funny.
Um, to being one of the first signed this year, like that is a progression that some like, and all the negativity that's gone on, right? Because it has been a horrible few weeks.
Yeah,
It's such a
I can say
nice
that.
story to hear, to see that somebody has like yourself managed to turn it around and get yourself in a great position.
Yeah, it's like I said before, what I touched on. It's more sweeter for me because I was literally at the bottom at the start of this year. And then I finally like it could have easily been Madcat that they wanted instead of me. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
me and Madcat are both solid players in the last couple of years that we've both proven we can play at the highest level. It could have easily been him. It could have easily just been like Madcat, do you want to come over? But I got the chance to like prove myself once again. And like I say, I put my head down and just put the work in, man. There was nothing else to it. I just came on, made sure I put the time in during scrims and after scrims, and yeah, I'm glad that people noticed it. So I'm in a good spot now. So
It's awesome. And I tell you what, we'll go more into that in a little bit because there's plenty to talk about your year and what you kind of experienced this year. But I have to go back a little bit and talk about a few other things. Like, first of all, I kind of want to just get your feelings on Rostermania because, like I said, you're outside of it. You are on this team by yourself now. I kind of want to, and some of these subjects, like I said, some of these subjects we will touch. Some of them we won't touch because we don't want to damage anyone else in the community. So if you are asking certain questions, chat, just please understand that it is a very tense time now for the Call of Duty community, and we don't really want to cost anyone their jobs. But saying that, Shawnee, the one of the craziest roster manias ever see, where 45 players have dropped into that free agent pool. What's your take on it?
Honestly, man, it's like there's going to be a lot of good players that aren't going to get in. Everyone knows that. Like you said, is it 45 players? Is that the
I
exact
think at
number?
least,
Yeah.
yeah, I think at
At
least,
least
yeah,
roughly, I'd say roughly. That is crazy. Like 45 players from this year's league is not going to be playing next year.
yeah,
Like when you actually just think about that, like how many people, like
yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like
I think it works out like there are I think it's 24 less slots on a roster or sub spot because it went down from 5v5 to 4v4, and I believe
yeah,
it's
man.
gone from 2 subs to 1, and that doesn't include obviously the teams that had more subs. So 45 have gone free agent, 24 at least probably won't be back. It's crazy, right? That's like half of the free agents currently may not be playing.
Yeah. Literally, it causes a few problems. It's like now the amateurs have been grinding for a whole year to like win is everything in the amateur circuit, like team war and whatever. Like, and now it's like they've got an extra 30 players that were on the pro level last year coming down and putting more competition on them. Don't get me wrong, like it obviously gives them more competition, so they get better, make a better chance to like get in a team next year. But at the
Yeah,
same time, they just put in that the amateurs just worked hard for a whole year for a chance to get in the pro league, and now they just got told, oh, like the league's like getting shorter. So we're throwing down some of these pros down here. So good luck. Like I think it's pretty shit for them
yeah.
for the most part. Obviously, it's shit for the like pro players who had it and coming down. But I feel like in the next year, like, I feel like it's gonna. I'm assuming it's gonna expand. Like I feel like they're gonna have to at this point because it went backwards and now they'll probably just wait a year and then go forwards again. Um, it's just they have to like invest in the challengers if they're doing this like what they have right now, like the 4v4, and they have to like I feel like the challengers have to be like twice as what they were this year.
No,
Like for people,
I couldn't
yeah,
agree more, Shawnee. I genuinely couldn't agree more, and I think from your point of view as well, you understand that. You understand like that how negatively seen it is to be just outside challenges. It's like how
yeah,
much more difficult life is not being in the professionals. Like it's hard to build your brand. And you are right about the amateurs this year. Like Team War, who did an incredible job winning so much in Europe and
it's
doing
hard.
right. And I will come out and say it. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to see none of them get their pro shot.
Oh, none. I can almost guarantee right now, like not from what I know, just like from the fact that 40 players, like you say, are coming down. There's no way out of those 40 pros they're going to want like a challenger player. It's just facts. It's not going to happen. And it's pretty shit because like what War did. Don't get me. I have like friends back in Europe. Obviously, I
Yeah,
mostly talk to like Wee Man and like that from back in Europe. I think
yeah,
they're a solid team and stuff. But like War consistently done it. They consistently. This game is hard to be consistent. Like the pros proved that. It's very hard to be consistent in this game, and they done it. Even though it was online, they still done it. So I feel like they did deserve somewhat of a chance. But now that this has happened, there's zero chance that any of them get in the league this year.
yeah.
I think it's unfortunate, but I just think it's facts. I think they need to like just acknowledge that and just hope for the best. Like hopefully next year they add more spots, and hopefully this year the challengers is
Hopping.
been more money invested
Yeah,
in it. Yeah, it should be because there's a lot of pros coming down, more personalities, more fans want to see the challengers. So I'm assuming
yeah.
they're going to invest more into like actually getting a stream and like putting more into it. So
Yeah, and I think right. So we have to talk about this because obviously it has become a little bit bitter recently, and I know the Watkins versus Assault drama, or what's Assault versus the Marshall Brothers drama has kicked off, and we spoke about this before we came live, and we said, look, we want obviously on this podcast we always try to be honest and bring stuff to the light, but that is a drama. That is a lot of flaming going on, and it is a very
mm.
negative thing for the timeline. And like you said, we don't want to cost anyone their jobs. Um,
I
well,
just ain't feeling. I just ain't feeling any of that fire. Like those. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Like
yeah,
people, if people from Twitter can see what's on Twitter and then judge like and believe what they want to believe, let's just leave it at that because it
yeah,
doesn't affect me. And yeah, I'm just not gonna get involved with that. It's like there's always two sides to a story, in there. So
yeah. No, I understand that. Like I said, you see these sides of it come out, and you're not 100% certain what is the truth. And then everyone says, there are three sides to everything. There'll be one person's side, the other, and then the truth will be somewhere in the middle.
yeah,
And it's horrible to think of that. It has come to that people are airing dirty laundry on the timeline, and then it has already got a little bit snippy. And the thing that bothers me the most is I know that for everything we see on the timeline, 100 more things are probably happening in the background.
yeah. That's just like the tip of what's actually happening. Like
Yeah.
not with like that situation, just in general. This whole Rostermania, like there's just so much shit. There's like so much moving pieces going on that no one knows about. Like the CDL Intel obviously gets like quite a few But it's right. Let's be
Yeah.
honest. Like he obviously gets it from somewhere, but
Yeah.
like at the same time, he is still pretty late to like deliver that news. So like all that shit's already happening. Then there's already something else in the works, and then something else in the works. It's just Rostermania in the off season is just mental, mate. It's literally a Royal Rumble, especially when you're cutting people outside of the league. Like you're cutting them out of it. Like you're basically telling people if you don't get this sorted or do this, then you're going to lose your job. So people are going above and beyond to try and keep their jobs.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't blame them. Obviously, it's just it's causing a bit of space in the timeline. That's all it is.
No, I fully,
Like,
I fully understand. I fully understand that ridiculous. Like, and it's a horrible situation, right? Because being at the top competitive level is never easy. Wait, just before I go into this, there is a slight tangent. Just realised I'm wearing the same t-shirt as I was yesterday. It's because I'm having a shower after the show before the YouTube comments come in. It's fine. I've got some stuff to do afterwards. I'm having a shower. But no, so competitive is difficult in terms of being at the top, the pressure you'll put under the fans. There are expectations of you. And now, with this added caveat of maybe you didn't have a good year, now you're worried whether or not you will have a job next year. Because some of these pros don't have a strong brand. They don't do an awful lot of content outside of the league. They don't know if they want to even go into challenges to compete. Because right now we don't know the format, what's happening with challenges next year. Is it going to be better? Bearing in mind, Challenges wasn't even streamed for the first half of this year, right? And you're sitting there going as a pro player going, holy crap, how the hell do I earn my way back? And now you're going, well, I had a contract, I was in a league, and now potentially nothing. Potentially nothing. But you've got to start again from the beginning and just sit there and go, holy crap, how do I do
it's
anything
hard.
here? Right?
It's hard, man. This has been one of the roughest years of my life. Like, no, I'm not just exaggerating it. Like with COVID and being back home watching the league, like being in my bedroom where I was grinding when I was 16 to get to the pro league, getting to the pro league for 3 years in a row, and then missing out on the franchise year because I had like a off back end of Black Ops 4. Like it hurts you. Like having a rough end of a game, like everyone thinks, oh, that guy's not that good, or this guy's not that good. They don't remember the last 3 years of you competing.
Yeah.
It's just always been the same. You're only as good as your last match, and for some reason, people stick by that a lot. And it's like I said, the challenges is just it's a rough area, but like, I don't see why people like would not want to take part in it to like come back.
Yeah.
I know it's rough, but it's doable. I'm not trying to say, oh, I've done it, blah blah, but I was at the bottom this year. Like I was playing with people, obviously all great players like fucking Wee Man and Mad Cat and all that, like Nolson.
Yeah.
But it's like I was still compared to where I was near the bottom, and I was like I said, back in my room where I was playing when I was like 16, trying to get to a pro level. I was back there. Essentially, took a couple steps back to that situation, and I just had to like suck it up and just put the work in. So that's all I can say for like anyone who's in the same situation. Like just go back and put the work in. People will notice it. Like it will come through. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, bearing in mind, hopefully there'll be expansion next year. I know a lot of people have talked about it, so there will be more slots available, and people who are maybe make the league this year may not make it next year because, I have said I think some people during the year probably didn't deserve to be in the league and managed to kind of get their way in, and franchises were a little bit hesitant to maybe play loose and fast with their rosters as much as they should have done. So it'll be very interesting moving forward in that kind of regard to see how it all kind of plays out. But no, I completely agree, Shawnee. It's one of these things where challenges is daunting, but at the same time, you're competing. And if you have been sensible with your money from the Pro League, you'll probably be okay for a year to get yourself back into, another big contract the year after. I want to talk about then, let's start talking about you, Shawnee. I'm going to ask you about Cold War towards the end, because obviously you've played it, you've got hands on, but let's talk a little bit about you. Start of this year, obviously, you've already said you were at the bottom, and it was a difficult time for you. What were your feelings going through that period? The franchise Rostermania, the trying to get through and actually figure out your next move. Because like you said, not a great ending to Black Ops 4 for yourself, and people's stock is it's a roller coaster a lot of the time. So what were your feelings like in that franchise period?
Honestly, there was a lot of like frustration at the start. So like, I thought, like, don't get me wrong, I'm saying that you shouldn't feel like you can't go back and grind, but I feel like I shouldn't have been in that situation, even though like I had like one or two bad events at the back end.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where the realization set in when I was like, I've said this in a podcast before, like the champs run was sweet because I was asking your Torontos, I was asking, Mark AB, I was asking fucking New York, I was asking I was asking loads of friends, even Paris, that's a team I forgot. So I was asking all them, the people that I knew, And I was like, "Can you give me a spot?" And they just some people just would ignore me. They would ignore me. Like people that I've spoke to for years just
Yeah.
would be like ignore me because like, I didn't have a great finish, and it just put it in perspective. Like there's not a lot of friendships in this as you think. There's a few obviously that you're friends for a long time, and obviously that just like put it in my mind to like listen, stop relying on other people to like get you back into this league. Like essentially, do your best, win challenges, and then prove that you're good enough to be back in the league. That's kind of what the realization that got me through it. Like I just realized that I need to stop asking for people to like help me out instead of just go out and fucking get it, pretty much.
Yeah. No, I understand that. Right. Um, I understand like. Well, I say I understand. Obviously, I can't put myself in that position of being a competitive, but I suppose from my, sight of talent and stuff, trying to get into various
Yeah.
leagues and various works, I can kind of empathize a little bit.
Yeah.
What did you feel? Let's talk about joining the Ravens then, because when you joined the Ravens and become part of the sub spot, did you were you sitting there going, how did you feel about actually getting a chance to play this year? Like, how much did you think it would actually happen?
Um, Honestly, like, I'll be brutally honest. I thought if I was on the sub bench, I knew I'd be playing at some point. It's just if I could perform in that space that I was given. But honestly, I'm not going to like go into too much detail to why I thought that. Pretty much, I looked at the team and it didn't make a whole lot of sense from knowing all five players. I knew at some point something was going to change. There's a lot of passionate people in the team. I knew something was going to change at one point. And again, it was between me and Madcat, so it was like 50-50. But because of the history I had like with the guys, I reckon I had a decent chance. So I knew at some point I would have been subbed in, or at least played for an event or
Yeah.
whatever. So I knew that I just had to be ready for that chance. Honestly, COVID, I'm being straight up. COVID probably helped me quite a bit. Like
Okay.
it's hard to say. That is honestly, it's hard. It's bad to say, but I got subbed in a day before the borders locked, right? And not a lot of people know this, but I was only subbed. I was getting subbed in, and then Byron was going to come take my spot. So I came out here to play, and then I was told that Byron is going to come out and
Oh
play,
wow.
right? So I was like, so I flew out here to like help these guys, and then now I've been told that um Nasty's going to come in and take my spot pretty much.
Holy crap.
And the reason that I had to fly out, so I had to pack up everything I was doing, leave the challenges for like the off chance
Yeah.
that I could play with the team because Byron obviously it was something to do with visas or something, so there was a chance that he couldn't play. But the whole plan was to take my spot, so I flew out here with the slightest chance that I could play in any of the matches just to prove myself again. And then I got told that Nasty was taking my spot, and then obviously, because he didn't have a visa, he had to go home because of COVID. He couldn't acquire one straight away, and I ended up getting my chance. So a lot of things had to go my way this year. Like it was very. I'm very lucky to be here. Like there's a lot of things that like should have went against me, like that. Like Byron should have started. He was out here practicing with the team. Like he should have started, but he had to go home because of the visa stuff, and he couldn't get back.
Wow.
So yeah, it's like there's a lot of things went right for me to get here, man. It's like I'm grateful. Like I'm actually just straight up grateful for it. So
How did that? I mean, and I say this, with respect to the situation. Like, how did that make you feel though? Saying, admittedly, it's your job and you have to go out there as a sub and do as you're told, but to come out and move yourself to America, it's no small feat.
yeah.
And then for the team to turn around and say, "Hey," so how much did you even play with the team before they decided to say, "Oh, by the way, Nasty's getting your job"? Like, what was
No,
it? What actually happened there?
it was more like so. I got the call. Literally, I'm not even joking. I was in the gym and I'm
Right.
sitting there in the gym, and I get a call off Swiss, obviously the GM, and he's like, "Listen, I need you out here in a few days." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "There's a chance," because Byron was number one. Like they wanted Byron. They were
Yeah.
playing from back. They were playing with Byron from back in the UK. They were scrimming with him like in the UK and stuff.
Okay.
So they wanted Byron, but they said to me that I have to come out in the off chance that Byron can't play.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, so you want me to get up and move all my shit across the world to America with the chance that I might not even play, and then I'm getting told the borders are getting locked down. So if I don't leave in the next few days, when I was not prepared, then I had because of obviously COVID, then I had to be there, and even at that, there was a chance I couldn't get in. And I was lucky enough to get in the border. The guy literally said to me, "You're probably the last day of people getting in," and I was like, "Fucking hell!" Like everything was just going my way. Like I put like the last 5 months. It was like they were just telling me like you've been through enough of this shit, right? You're getting some luck. You're getting some luck come your way. You get like a few things went my way, and then I ended up getting on the starting team, and everyone was enjoying what I was bringing to the team and the effort, like in the work ethic and stuff. So I mean, it just went well from there.
That's insane, man. Like, imagine, I can't even imagine going, right, because obviously, people going, oh, maybe haven't realized the context of this, but it's not just going over for a holiday. This is saying goodbye to your family and friends. I don't know when I'll be back. I've got to move enough to live over there in a couple of days. What I can cram into suitcases and how many suitcases I take, and the worst part is you have to explain to people. By the way, I'm going to America to play, and they're probably like, "Oh, okay, I understand. Right, you have to do this," and then you go, "But I might not. Right, I might not play. I've just got to go over and hope for the best."
Yeah, and then I might not even be able to come home straight away because of the whole lockdown situation. So I was like, I'm going to be out here on lockdown, and obviously I was like Byron was like nasty. Was like you've probably seen my streams when I was playing the hardpoint challenge and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like no, that Byron was behind me playing, so he was like scrimming in my apartment, and I'm hearing them scrim every time I wake up, and I'm just like, that's just rubbing salt in the wind, isn't it? It's like just hearing them scrim, and I'm like, that could be me, and I flew out here on it. So like I said, I just grinded as much as I could. I was playing those hardpoint challenges every day, all day. Fucking everyone was loving it. It was good. So I think that's where kind of my stock started getting a little bit better when people actually saw me playing against the best players in the game, like quite frequently. So I think that helped a lot, to be fair.
No, like I said, I can't even imagine that scenario, man. I think that's like one of the people haven't really spoke about is, you had to have all these conversations from like, I'm sure you had to tell your parents, and you had to tell your friends, and just be like, yo, I might be going out there to be alone for 6 months. I might be out there, I might not be playing, and then I can't come home anyway. So yeah, I'll see you on a Zoom call at some point. As I just sit here and don't do an awful lot. And I said there is an isolation factor to it that if it had gone wrong, Seany, that you would have been sitting in America, twiddling your thumbs, going, "Oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sitting here as a sub. I can't even now play in the EU challenges.
Yeah,
because that team's gone. I've had to ditch them.
Yeah, so I had to leave my actual team and told like so they didn't even know like they obviously what was happening. So I could have like obviously there's an off chance I could have come back, but like when lockdown happened, I'm pretty sure you couldn't. But they were just sitting waiting for me to know what's happening. I'm like, boys, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know. Like I just been told that I might be able to play, so fly out to America. I was like, right, okay, I'm doing it. Like so, yeah, I just took that slim chance and it just worked out, man. Like it could have so easily went the other way. So easily went the other way. I could have been sitting here. Byron could have still been sitting there playing fucking scrims and champs, and he could have been the one fucking playing well and shit. And it obviously, this is honestly one of the better scenarios for me. Like from how the year started, this is one of like the fucking better end of the spectrum. Like because after last year, because a lot of things had to go my way this year, man. Like shit. That's one of the few things I brought. That's one of the few main things I brought up. But quite a lot of it was against me this year.
Oh, I have no doubt. Like I said, I can only imagine. Let's talk about you actually being in the team then, and the first kind of interaction. Because here's the thing: you obviously know the players, like the guys. You've been around Europe for a while. You obviously have played with them and all sorts of stuff. But what was it like actually getting involved and becoming an actual Raven? Like one of the 5, you're in the first couple of scrims. What was the team dynamic like? The attitude, like everything. Obviously, it's a little bit different because of COVID, but I'm very curious to see what your first impressions of actually getting to work was.
It was really good for us because I came in and they were doing well in scrims, and I came in and we done just as good, if not even better. And like our practice for the next 2 months from there with Jord was like unreal. Like we barely lost any practice. We played a lot of like obviously S&D practices and like challenges, like best of 9s against teams, and we never lost them. We beat FaZe in them. We beat Chicago in them. We beat everyone in scrims, but then we'd go to the events and just fall short, like to like Chicago and FaZe again. So like it was good because obviously scrims were going well, everyone was happy, but it just every time we got to the event, it just fell short. We just didn't close out that map, or there was like there's always a 3-1 loss, or we won an S&D and just choked this, choked that, and just so like it was good, but at the same time, it was stressful when you're not performing.
Was that like that frustration coming out behind the scenes? Like, obviously you've rejoined and it's good vibes. A lot of time it is good vibes when a new player comes in.
Yeah, of course.
But then for that not to convert into placements and the community to probably, if I'm being honest, be underwhelmed because obviously the Ravens does have a fanatical support system. They are the UK's team, so you're always going to be under the spotlight, especially from the UK. Did that ever take a toll on the team, like behind the scenes, or get frustrated before even the Jerd chain came in?
I don't think we'd like get frustrated by like obviously supporters tweeting us and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were getting. I'd say I was getting quite a bit of hate at the start when I first joined because obviously we weren't winning. Pardon me. And yeah, it's like it doesn't really get to us. Like I don't think it gets to much people. I think if you let it get to you, then you've kind of already lost. You know what I mean? If you let like people's hating on you and giving you shit on Twitter, you've kind of already lost at that point. You may as well back in. It's like it's just Twitter. It's the people showing you their opinions. It doesn't really matter. You know how good you are. Like we know how good we were. It was frustrating we weren't getting the results. That's why obviously it prompts a change because you give it a few chances. You know how good the team is. It doesn't work. You're like, right, okay, we need to make a change, or we stick it out. And it's after a few events and the same stuff's happening over and over again. You're like, something's clearly not working here. We've tried to change some things up. It's not working. And then you decide that you want to like make a change, and then obviously everyone's tweeting you shit essentially on Twitter before you even make the change because you're not winning. And then we get 0 in, and it was, let's say, I think the first event we got them in for like 4 days. We had 4 days practice, and then we came second. Like it was just the right. It gave a good balance to the team. Like Trey was a great player for us. Like he brought a great balance to the team. So ever since he came in, it's funny that funny enough, the practice with Judd was better. We won way more practice. We won nearly every set of practice with Judd. But then with Trey, we lost a good amount of practice. We had some stressful times getting rinsed. We were getting rinsed by FaZe sometimes.
Oh, that's
Dallas.
the worst.
Well, but then we just went to the event. Like the 4 days when we came second, the scrims were good.
Okay.
It was good then, but like after that, the next few months, like we just kept losing scrims. We were just shit in practice. We couldn't do it, and then we just got to events and we were like 50-50, and then leading up to champs, we just knew that we were getting better. Like honestly, that meta where like it was 2 ARs,
Yeah.
it suited us so well, and it just helped us a lot.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't,
yeah,
yeah.
that speaks for itself in terms of the results and stuff that ended up coming towards the end of the season. I don't want to dwell too much on it, but that Jerd change, for the community, it came out of nowhere, and I think half of the problem is obviously Jerd doesn't tweet anything ever, so it's like he goes into work and just doesn't do anything else. That's it. Like you don't get to see him, nothing, and it just happened. Was that like obviously you've come into this team and you've had a couple of months without them, and then that happened? Are you sitting there going, oh God, I don't know what's going to happen next? Now we've got to get a replacement for Joe. Sorry, get a replacement for Jerd. Sorry, just in the chat. You got your replacement for Jerd. Were you sitting there going, I wonder if the team dynamic's going to change? Who can we get? Like, how did that situation all go down?
I think I'm allowed to say this, but I don't think it changes much. We were trying to get Madcat in the team. We actually got Madcat a flight out here.
Okay.
And then he got turned away at the border.
I heard about this. I did hear about this.
Yeah, so he got turned away. So he was going to be in because we didn't even think of Trey at the time. We were thinking, like, who's available? And then obviously with COVID, like obviously buying someone out for 200, 300k just wasn't an option. So like we were like, right, okay, so we can't get a European amateur because you can't fly out here
and get a visa.
Yeah, and get a visa. So we need to look at Americans. There wasn't a lot on offer, and then I can't remember the situation. It was like, well, we either play. It was like get Madcat out. I was a big advocate. I think Madcat was pretty solid when I played with him. He ran a sub and he was pretty solid. I was like, we should get Madcat. He seems like the best option. He's on the sub bench. That's what he's there for. Give him the chance, same as me. Blah blah blah. Comes out here, gets stopped at the border, and we're like, shit, right? We need to rethink. We need to really rethink what we're doing. And eventually, it landed on Trey, and we were like, yeah, why the fuck did we not think of Trey before?
Yeah.
Like, the guy's an MVP. Do you know what I mean? The guy's got it in his locker like, but easily. Like, why have we not thought of him? And then we got him in, and it just went up from there. So it was a stressful time, but like again, it could have easily went another way, and Madcat could have got in.
Yeah. I think because I think I've mentioned it before, but people don't realize that story that Madcat very well could have been on that first slot this year. And I think I mentioned it because people were trashing him on Reddit, and I was like, I'm not having this. Like, you guys have no idea. He is solid. He could have very well been playing for the Ravens. Like, he's on their sub bench anyway. You say, Trey came in. Obviously, there was a whole situation with Trey in New York, and I still don't really understand what happened in there. And I'm sure Trey will bring it up himself. But when he came over, how was the vibes, with Trey coming in for the first time? Because you said the first event went well, we were all starting to think, this is it. We are now a competitive team.
Yeah.
We can take on the big boys.
Yeah. So what the meta at the time was the auto attack sprint, 4 sub meta,
Yeah.
1 AR. So obviously we got Trey in, added just an extra like big slayer on the team, and he was going off, and we were playing better as a team, and we were like, yes, right, okay, we're finally there, we're in a good spot, and then boom, day after, yeah, we're GAing the auto attack sprint, which was a big thing in the game. Like it changed a lot of timings, it changed a lot of play styles, it made it easier for like obviously I'm not a movement based player, but did it make it easier for us to like slide cancel and stuff like your Shotzi and Dylan and all that shit? Like obviously we're not all like them, so like obviously that helped a lot of players in the movement aspect. And obviously it helped us a lot. Our pacing was great, everything, and then boom, it's just like that. We had to take it off, and it was like resetting again. It was like everyone just reset and learn, like not learn, but like get used to not using tax sprint again. And again that hit us pretty bad. I think if that tax sprint was in the whole game, I reckon we won one of those events. Like we nearly beat Chicago in that final, and it was like 1 point of domination, and like I don't know. I feel like that hurt us again, but then we just the next few months practice didn't go as well. We were losing scrims and stuff, and then yeah, as soon as again the meta changed again, gave us 2 ARs, and it was back in our favor. Like it was like me running an AR just made sense for us, and yeah, it's like, honestly meta change is such a big thing in COD. People don't realize how big it is for players.
No, I fully agree. I mean, I made videos about and talked about the GA situation, right? I don't know if at least from my perspective, I don't think GAs were done in the best possible way this year. Because it's a long story, but like I think a lot of weird stuff happened. But I understand the meta shifts meaning an awful lot for some teams, and I think that's where the problem comes in. Is that some teams will be like, "Hey, we GA something, then they might benefit us as a team." So it's hard to be objective in those regards, right? I love auto attack sprint, by the way. Just so we're clear on this, as a non-competitor, saved my thumb and thumbstick a million times, but I can understand why it changed the movement aspects of the game.
People were trying to like kill our thumbs off. That's what it was. Our thumbs were getting tortured this year.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. I've always said, no matter how slow a game looks at the beginning, you can guarantee the pros are going to ramp it up to its absolute maximum tempo possible by the end of the year, regardless.
Always the same. Always the same.
It really is. Let's talk about then that period after that second place with Trey and the roster, because it didn't go as well as you would probably have liked moving forward towards champs, to the point where, and I'll hold my hands up, criticize-wise, I wasn't sure you guys were any more than the mid-table team. What happened on the run-up to champs in the next 3 months or whatever it is?
Well, so we played Paris at was it London homestand? I think it was a London homestand where we like lost to them in that semis.
Yeah.
Right, obviously that was a big hit. Like, we were feeling good. Like that event, even though like the Florida game that they severely outslayed us like, a lot, and we just like clutched up. But we were feeling good going into that event. That was like the first 2 AR meta, I think, the first event for it. And like we were gassing, like scrims were actually going. Actually, felt like scrims were actually going well leading up to that event. We were looking good, we were feeling good, and then we got to Paris, a fucking nemesis, man. Every time we played them, it was so hard. But everyone else just dealt with them, but we just couldn't we just couldn't beat them. But at that event, we couldn't anyway. Like we completely dominated the game, and they clutched up, same as what we done to Florida, and then they beat us in our own homestand to go into a final. So we were like, shit, right, we've got a month left. We need to fucking, what I mean, we need to get our heads down. Like we need to get better. We can't be in a situation where we can lose to Paris again. No disrespect to Paris, they won the best team this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just like we had to like figure out our search and destroy. I've said it a lot. Like our search and destroy was key. Like search and destroy is so key in this game. It's that was like one of our main focuses, I reckon. I feel like going into champs was I kept gassing out. I was thinking of little new strats and different maps. I was like going over forwards and looking for different stuff to do, like just so we had more options on the map. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so.
I feel like the Ravens' S&D suffered like at the midway point of the year. It was really weird. Like there was this point, I remember like distinct periods of there was all this because Wusk obviously had his heyday with the sniper rifle. He was getting an awful lot of first bloods and it was looking great. And then if I remember looking at the stats, it kind of fell off a cliff for London in terms of like you guys all of a sudden Piccadilly was just not your map. You kept losing it, and obviously you kind of wanted to buy into it because at one point it was a very good map for the Ravens. Like, how devastating is that to a team to realize that you can actually physically see a dip in performance on a specific game mode and recovering from it?
So it's a good question, to be fair, because when, like you said, the Piccadilly thing, we tried it like 6 times, like 5 times. We just kept losing it. It
Yeah,
didn't matter who played, didn't matter. What we figured out is basically no one was giving Brad a pick. Everyone knew that Brad had like 6 spots in the map where he would go to try and get a kill, and it worked pretty well on that map. And then people just realised, like, hey, if we don't give this guy this pick and we just stack this bomb site with a couple subs, then they have to rush us. And then people just kept doing it to us, and I think they countered us very well. So we kind of went back and we were like, right, we can't play that map anymore. But then the next event we played that map, and then that was the last straw. We were like, I think all of us just said we're not playing that map ever again. I don't care. I don't care if we're playing some other map. I don't care. Like if it comes down to it, we're not playing Piccadilly. So we kind of got rid of it, and we said, like, if we're not going to play Piccadilly, we need to get another map that we're good at.
yeah,
And that's when we suggested like Ramaza. We were like, we should try Ramaza because that was my best map, and I told them all that before when I joined.
yeah.
I brought like, quite a lot of strats to the game, like the S&D game when I came over from the amateur team, but they just didn't like the map. They didn't have any success on it. They didn't like it. They didn't want to play it. And I was like, that's fair enough. I like the other maps as well. That's fine. But then it got to the point where Piccadilly just wasn't working, and we were like, let's just try Ramaza. Like, let's just try it. There's no harm in trying it against someone. And then it was going good in practice. Like we had some strats that were working, and then yeah, like started playing it, and then it was pretty solid for us. I think we won like 3 times in a row. Then lost it to Chicago at champs, and I think that was a big. Honestly, the vetoes, like just picking different maps, helped us a lot. Like people don't realize how big that was. Like we didn't play Ramaza like the whole year on Hardpoint or S&D, and then obviously shit, people start countering us. You start losing your good maps, and you're like, right, okay, we need to expand. So then the coaches pretty much told us you need to get better at Ramaza, like Hardpoint for the veto system, in
Yeah.
which we went away. We fixed Ramaza Hardpoint, we got better at Ramaza S&D, and it gave us a lot of leeway in the vetoes, and it helped us pick the maps that we wanted to play.
That's
So
actually really good to hear because it's something that I've spoke about at length, saying, look, having a deeper map pool is always a good thing because if you ever get against a team who are just better than you on a map you regularly pick, you're going to be in serious
yeah,
trouble. And it looks like a textbook example of what happened with the Ravens, right? Piccadilly, everyone adapted because they knew how, obviously, when Watkins does that kind of performance on a map, everybody pays attention and goes, hey, no more of this. Do not give him a pick.
yeah.
Fell apart. And obviously, you guys, right, we have to deepen the map pool. And it worked out, right? Like all of a sudden, your results started getting better, your stats started getting better, and it's great to see. I think that a team can do that late in the season because obviously you've been practicing the amount of hours pros put in to practicing these maps, and when you know that you're going to veto something, I imagine just human nature. Players go a little bit less hard on it because they're like,
Yeah.
oh well, we're never going to play it anyway. And then you guys were up against it, right? That's mad for me to go, oh well, look, we're clearly getting smashed here.
Yeah,
We have to do something. And obviously that was the birth of Construction Shawnee, right? That is
that's pretty much yeah. It's pretty much we just played it. That was the time we decided to play it. It was against Minnesota last map, and it was like I played it in myself pretty much, and they just kept coming in. I just kept clutching, but like I enjoyed that map. I was good at the map. I just understood the map pretty well, and I was like I said, I was pushing for it like for a bit to play it, but obviously again they weren't great at the map, so like nah, just we'll keep playing Piccadilly. Brad will snipe, blah, and then eventually we were like, right, shit, it's not working, so let's just go in construction, and boom, that was it. We just smashed the map, and we just kept picking it. It was the same with Ramaza Hardpoint. This is like I think it was Shane and Dom that was saying this. It was like because of the veto system, being good at Gunrunner and Ramaza and Cave is like so important because if you get the coin toss, then obviously you can put them on a Hackney hardpoint and you can have good side and you can have your good map in Ramaza or Gunrunner first.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So like they kept stressing like you're good at Gunrunner, you're good at Cave, but it's not good enough. You need to be good at Ramaza. Like we don't care about the other two maps. Like you're gonna have good side regardless if we pick it, if they pick it. Sorry. Like we
yeah,
need to get good at Ramaza because it's not side dependent. So we heavily focused on it, and we actually went back and we watched VOD on it. Like we were having some heated arguments on the map because we were shit at Ramaza Hardpoint. We that was our worst map at some point. And Trey's in the chat, he can attest that we were dog shit at that map. Like every hill we'd rotate broke. We'd just get 100 point club, just boat, and we're like shit. Right, we can't play this map. Like, and then it got to the point where like the coaches literally were like, well, if you don't get better at this map, your vetoes are going to be hard. Like,
yeah,
we're gonna get some maps we don't want to play against some teams that are good at the maps. And we eventually went back and looked at the actual scrims, like a few scrims back to back, and seen what was actually going wrong. And it turned out a big reason was just P2. For some
all right,
reason, one of the easiest tellers in the game, we just couldn't hold P2. So then we went in depth and we fixed it. We fixed P2, and honestly, as soon as we fixed P2 and Ramaza, ask anyone in the team. It's like like the switch just flipped, and every hill we were on real at. We're rotating early, getting scrapped, and we just turned into one of the best teams in the game on the map. We beat everyone on it. We beat New York, who played it all the time. We beat Chicago on it. We beat Paris. Like we beat everyone who played that map on it, and it made it easy for us because they were picking the map sometimes. So
Okay.
like changing your vetoes up is so important during the season. It's like you said, it's so important.
I mean, I feel like you're now just teaching the other franchises of how they should conduct themselves. I'm not going to lie to you. I agree with everything you've been saying because it's been something very close to me in saying, this veto system does matter. And for casuals who don't understand it, there is this incredible tactical depth to it because
Yeah.
you are right. You do not want to play maps that people can be better at you. Because here's one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard about the veto system, by the way. And your points entirely smash it to bits. People say, "Oh, if you're the best team in the game, you should just be the best at every map." Well, clearly that's not. It's impossible, right? It's impossible to be the best team at every map unless you're literally godlike and play perfect Call of Duty. It's just not how it works. You've got player mechanics, you've got the chemistry, how you guys break that map down. Like you said, Trey was against it from to begin with, and you were a big advocate from it. That's two different opinions in the same team, which means that at some point you may not be good at the map because somebody doesn't like it. So yeah, I honestly, Shawnee, that story there is fantastic, and I really hope people take away from that is why vetoes are important, and people need to play different maps, because it is a very tactical thing getting those vetoes in, especially this year.
Yeah, it's like the best way to put it is like teams that were good at Arclov, PKS, and D. Like they, for some reason, like people would choose it against us, even though we were like on a 4-win streak, 5-win streak, bad sniping, he's getting like 10 kills, or Matty or Dill's another bottom, like on just taking over that bomb set. Like and people just kept playing it because it was their good map, and they wouldn't want to play us in Gunrunner. So we had two good maps, Gunrunner and Arclov, right?
Yeah.
They had to choose between what one they wanted to play. We were way better at Arclov than Gunrunner, but Gunrunner was more of a it was like a 50-50. It wasn't like slow tactically moving the map. It was just hit something, get the bomb down or whatever. So people chose to play Arklov more. And if people actually like got better at another S&D map and just banned Arklov against us, we would have lost a lot more search and destroys because at that time we were only good at two of them. The other three we were not that good at. We were 50-50, but like Arklov and Gunrunner we were solid at. But people kept playing us on it. If people just banned it and made us play Ramaza early or made us play what's the other map? Not Gunrunner, but it's Petro. If people made us play Petro or like Ramaza early, they probably would have took more maps off us. But they just kept giving us Arklov. And it was like we were laughing every time we got it second map. We were just like, ha ha, right, okay, right, win this hard point, we're 2-0 up, boys. That's what we'd say before the game. We're not even joking. I've heard that comment for a few times. And we were just so confident in map, and people didn't go out and like, get better other search and destroy maps so they could ban it against us. Obviously, they're not just going to counter us, but you had like a few weeks to prepare for teams. You knew who you were playing in your groups like a week or two before, so you could have done that, but people just didn't do it. So that's a big, yeah.
That's mad. Like just thinking about, imagine you never made that Ramaza switch. How different it would have been, moving forward without that map pool, and how much harder your year would have been made. Like, you've already said, the team didn't want to do it, and if they hadn't have done it, this could be a very different conversation, Sean.
Yeah.
It genuinely could, right? We could talk about how you guys didn't do well at champs, how you might not even be in the team right now if you didn't get to kind of show off on a structured team. Because this is another thing people don't talk about is if you had a bad finish of the year, Shawnee, London's may not have picked you up. Even if you did well, then if the team bombed out champs and came 10th or whatever, they probably wouldn't have been as positive towards you and the rest of the year.
Yeah, of course.
Right, and that's something that all players are worried about because you can sometimes shine in a bad team, like Octane, for instance. People have been gassing him up all year, even though Seattle Surge was absolutely terrible. But that's the exception and not the rule. Usually, we've seen entire rosters drop this year. Just everybody just getting thrown to the bin. If you haven't won anything, get in the bin. And that could have happened. Let's talk about playoffs then, because that was a very interesting one for me because it was basically your route through playoffs, in my mind, was a very difficult one in the fact that everybody you had to play, outside of the big three, were teams around your level and very competitive games and teams that had beaten you before. Right? Yeah. I believe, if I can't remember the exact thing, wasn't it? And I might got the order wrong. It's Toronto, and then it was either New York or Paris.
It's Paris, New York, and Toronto.
Yeah, so you had to play those four who... Yeah. A lot of the time, had beaten you before. New York had, Toronto Ultra won the last home series. Paris had beaten you before. New York, I'm trying to remember the last ones there, but that's where Trey came from, so there was always going to be a rivalry there. How mad was it seeing that kind of that run for you as a player?
As soon as, just to set the scene, we literally, as soon as Trey got hit offline,
Yeah.
we and then we saw that loser bracket run. We were like gassed. We were like, shit, right? Okay, we have beat these teams before. We just have to do it again. We know we can beat these because we always pride ourselves, right? We do struggle against the top three this year. This year we did struggle. We were like 0-11 against the top three, which is Dallas, Chicago, and FaZe. So we only lost like 5 games. We were like 16-5 against the lower teams. So against your New Yorks, your Torontos, Paris, Optic, LAG, everyone, we lost like 16-5 in map in the series. I think it's something like that. Don't quote me, but it was nearly triple positive anyway. And we were like, right, okay, we've beat all these teams way more than they beat us. We just have to do it again. So Paris was the biggest one, man. Like as soon as we beat Paris, that was it. We just knew that it was on us now. Because Paris is our nemesis, man. Like I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. Like obviously, other teams obviously saw them as a free win. Again, I like the guys in that team, so I don't want. Yeah, but we for some reason seen them as fucking FaZe. We seen them as the FaZe. They were like the slow FaZe who just didn't move and just knew what we were doing and countered us, and we were like, shit, right, okay, we just been booted offline against Toronto. We obviously wanted to beat them because Methods was chatting some shit as well against us.
Yeah.
And he was actually calling us like Paris. He said we were like Paris. We were roasting him, saying we ain't like Paris. But then
I remember that actually. That kicked off just 4 champs, yeah.
Yeah, so we lose to Toronto after that. Obviously, not really a loss, but so that obviously pissed us off. And then we're actually playing Paris first round after Methods just gassing about us being like Paris, and we were like calling Paris shit. We were calling Paris shit, and we were going into that first game of losers champs against Paris, and they just beat us at last event. We were like, fucking hell, right? We all knew deep down if we get through this game, there's a good chance we qualify. So then we actually done it pretty cleanly. I think it was like 3-1, pretty clean. And then the New York game, Jesus man, that was a fucking roller coaster, man. I think we went 1-0 up, but then lost our club S&D. The map that we gassed about, so the map that we gassed about so hard, we lost it at champs in the loser bracket. So, and then the double Ramaz at the end just came in again.
Yeah, it
literally saved us.
It really did. Like I said, for me, when I tend to judge teams and go through, I always say, look, regardless of what I think of the players, because I speak to an awful lot of players outside of it, I said I have to go with my head and the numbers and all that sort of stuff. And that, in my opinion, was not an easy run for you guys. I wasn't fully confident in you guys making it, Like I said, Toronto are always going to be a big roadblock. Paris, New York, not terrible teams. Like these are teams that you could easily beat or easily lose against. And they were
both on form. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Just they were both on form. Like Toronto and New York just won a home series, their own home series to be exact. And they beat both of them. Toronto didn't beat us, but New York beat us at their own home series to win it, and they beat FaZe or Dallas or whatever it was. So like, they weren't no fucking easy games. Like when we beat them before that, we beat them before they were champions. Like we beat them when they were trying to get a chip. Like so, obviously it made it even harder. They've proved that they can beat the top 3 teams. But we just knew, man. We knew that against these teams, we didn't lose very often. Like in scrims and challenges, whatever. Like, we just didn't really lose to the teams that were below us. But when I said we're like 0-11 against the top 3, like it speaks for itself. Like we were literally the whole year we deserved to be fourth, fifth. Like we couldn't beat the top 3 teams. We know that, but we beat everyone else below us. So that's kind of all that matters for us. Right? We know those top 3 teams were better than us towards the back end of the year. We could have done something, but it didn't. So.
No, I see that. Let's talk about the Toronto rematch because there is a big difference from placings from if you lost that game. From essentially that was a qualifications for the actual champions, right?
Yeah.
That is, I'm getting to the new champs format. I'm getting to the next weekend. We get to play again, and our year isn't over. After losing to them and them being homestand champions and all the Twitter beef and the social stuff that went on, what were the feelings in the London camp going into that rematch?
Honestly, after that game 5, like against New York,
yeah,
it was like we just blew them out. It was like 6-1. We just blew them out, and it was like just everyone was gassed. We were just like we were so gassy in the next game. Honestly, it's such a blur. Like I can't even remember. Like how long was the gap between us playing New York and Toronto?
Oh, I honestly
I feel like it was I feel like it was like an hour max. I feel we went in the dorms room, the coaches room. We done interviews. I think it was me done an interview.
Yeah.
I think I done it. Yeah, I done an interview and I came in and I had some food and I think it was like 20 minutes later. They're like, yeah, you need to go and warm up for Toronto. And I'm like, fucking hell, let's go. Like, I was gassed. I just came off an unreal game 5. I played well. We all played well as a team in the whole series. Like we're all gassed. We're like, yeah, let's go. Like we just beat New York. Like obviously they were a good team. They just came off like a win not long ago. Like we were gassed. We're like, now it's time for Toronto. We're playing well. And the first game against Toronto, the first maps were against Toronto. I didn't even know what the first map was. But like, wait, what was the first map? Oh my
Oh,
god.
I'd have to go back and look at it if I'm honest
Gunrunner.
with you.
Yeah, it was Gunrunner. We lost Gunrunner literally. I think it was like 250 to 240. So going into that rematch, it was like we were so gassed and we got shut down on the first map. It was like 250, like 240. It was a P2 on Gunrunner and we're like, oh, it was so sad. We should have won it, but we choked it. And then again, we just showed how resilient we are and we bounced back and won 3 in a row. So it was a
Yeah.
great series, that man. I love that series. It was a great series. But beating Cammy as well, beating all those Scotsmen.
I mean that must have been. I don't even know what like this because here's the thing, right? There is this thing where, as a professional player, if you don't win the event, you always feel like you've lost, right?
Yeah,
Obviously, as an outsider perspective in the community, every step you take as a player and as a team is something to be celebrated, right? The Ravens fans were probably gassed. You guys got in a championship Sunday.
yeah.
You guys were. Was there like a bit of a celebration or a good shit, guys? We done a really good job, or a debrief? Like after that, holy shit, we made it to champs.
Honestly, I think we we did celebrate a little bit, nothing too much, just like a little. I think a few of us had a few drinks and just chilled and had like just talked about the win and stuff like that. And honestly, it was just it was dreading another week of practice. To be fair, like like no roasting. I didn't mind the game that bad. Right, again, I'm not going to do any of that topic, but it was another week and we had to like we went from scrimming like 12 teams to scrimming the teams that we're going to be playing. So we had to play Dallas and FaZe every day.
Wow.
Every day we had to play them on 12 hertz on some host. Like, oh my god, it was so stressful. You don't understand. Like anyone who's not them two teams know how hard it is to play against them two in scrims. It was so hard, and we had to do it for a week. And then we played AMS like one of that. We played one of the AM teams for a day,
Yeah.
and it was just as bad. Obviously, they were going hard, but like
Not good
it was
practice.
yeah, it wasn't the best practice leading up to the event. Let's just say that because like we had to play FaZe and Dallas constantly for a week straight. Like it was on 12 hertz and 60 hertz is a different ball game, man. 12 hertz they were like the demons, man. They were like if you've seen a Beezy on 12 hertz, man, he was slide canceling, you're gone. You don't get a chance. Like on 12 hertz, man, like you don't understand how stressful that was.
That's fair enough. I obviously don't. I mean, I probably wouldn't notice anyway. I'm way too old. But let's talk about going into champs then. Top four, big achievement for the London Royal Ravens, in my opinion, and certain amounts of the community. You guys had, like you said, it'd been a bit of a rough year for the London franchise.
Mm.
You go into it, you're facing Chicago. You've obviously got a week to prep for this game. Very important game to get that out of the gate. Obviously, there is no easy wins for you anywhere because you're facing against the top three who you've got a bad
Yeah.
roster against. What was the preparation against them like? Like, how do you prepare for a team like that?
Um, honestly, the best you can we're looking at the vetoes and we were thinking like, what's the best maps to play? And obviously, we didn't change too much in our vetoes because they like Ramaza, we like Ramaza. That was hard point, so we actually won the first one, so that worked out well for us. But it was search and destroy, man. It was try to like make sure we didn't lose that set and
Yeah.
search and destroy, which obviously didn't go away. But yeah, that was like the main prep was trying to make sure like that second map. We didn't know what it was going to be, if it was going to be Ramaza or is it Gunrunner they're good at? I think it was Gunrunner. It was either Ramaza or Gunrunner, and obviously we were happy to play either. And so we were like we've got good beetles for this game that we have a good chance that our beetles are going to be solid. We're going to Ramaza hard point most likely first map, and we're going to have one of our good S&D second map. So we were like, right, okay, if we go 2-0 up here, we have a good chance to winning. And then it was just yeah, and that's it, the Ramaza S&D. They just no joke, man. I was saying it during the game. I was like, they're just not coming in, man. Like I'm not even for the meme purposes. Just they just weren't coming in. They just kept sitting back and going B or sitting back and then going mid. I was just like, right, okay, let me go flank again. Right, okay, let me go do this. It was just that game. We done a lot of prep for that game, and it's just I think they done more.
Yeah.
I think they just whatever they went over just worked better than us in that map. I think it was like a 6-4 loss or something. But
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. What do you think went wrong during that Chicago game? Like in your perspective, anyway. Obviously, you've already said about the not going a Ramasa. Is there anything else you kind of highlight and gone, oh shit, either they've done something different or we struggled on certain aspects?
Um, it's like I was saying a lot. Man, our S&D was our saving grace, and they just countered us hard. Like they just knew that we were like our defense is pretty solid across the board in that map. Like if they went
Yeah,
B, usually like Matt and I would shut it. Like Matt Dell played that I think with Brad. They would shut it down, and like if they came out, I'd shut it down. But they just changed it up. They were like they were playing slow, and then they were working through mid and getting behind us and making us guess too much, like and rotating early and stuff. They just made us think way more than what other teams did. Other teams usually would just hit A or hit B and would be like, right, okay, we know exactly what's going on.
yeah,
Let's do this play. Let's do this play. Let's do this play. But what they were doing was sitting back and making us rotate bomb sites. Because obviously, if I'm here and they're going B and then I go to rotate and then they catch me rotating, it's a big kill. They just go plan A. So like they were doing that quite a lot, and they caught me out a few times. So then that's when they made me play scared in construction. Because like if I left the construction part of the map, then there's a good chance I was getting killed or they were playing for it. So they just played it well, man. I don't know. They actually just did counter as well. So I mean, fair play to them. And then we're going into a domination.
no.
That speaks for itself. Like
What is
it
wrong
got
with London's domination, by the way? Like,
I think Krim gave us some props. Like we were the best petrol dom team in the game. Like you don't understand. In scrims, we lost it like twice, I reckon, in the whole
yeah.
year. We literally didn't lose that map. We played Florida on it. We got outslayed, I think, and then that's when Dill went that mad streak. But we were just so good at that map. But everyone knew it and everyone hated the map. It was only us, Florida, and Optic that liked it. We played Florida on it. We didn't play Optic until like obviously they got better at that map. We were just good at the map that no one liked. So everyone that was good, everyone who liked Gunrunner had it so easy because we were like I say 50-50 in Gunrunner. We were definitely like 30-70. Like we 30% chance of winning like in that map. It got to the point where Dylan was asking for trophies, and I was like, "You want trophies on this map?" And then he's like, "Yeah, Sean, just give me the trophy, please." And I was like, "Right, you have the trophy. I'll take this. I'll put a sub on and run dead silence." And then it started getting better. That's when we beat Toronto, and then we had a close-ish game against Chicago. But it got to that point where like Sean, I was like, "I'm getting a sub out. Like fuck it. Like nothing else is gone right. Like we may as well just try it." Hackney Yard's a different conversation. That map. Oh my god, I can't wait to never see that map again. I can't wait. The fact that I don't need to, like you can ask Dylan this. Dylan's very he's very passionate in this one. If you actually just ask him about Bottom L and Hackney Yard, I reckon he'd have a mental breakdown if you asked him again. He literally just used to always go in there, just throw a smoke and die every time. And he'd go like 13 and 30 and he'd just be like, oh, it's happened again. Called it the cycle. Like that map just did not suit us. I don't know what it was. We tried so hard to fix it. I think Trey's in the chat, like we tried so hard to fix that map because we knew if we got good at Gunrunner or Hackney, we could have done a lot better.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't fix it. We don't know what it was. We were watching other teams. We were trying to copy them, but every time we copied them, it wouldn't work. And I don't know. It didn't work for us. Our domination on Hackney was just shocking. So we had to auto veto it, and then people knew our gun runner was iffy. So we were just again. That comes into the vetoes, man. Like we were crippled in the vetoes. We couldn't do anything. We had to play gun runner or Hackney every time, and we weren't that good at it. And it just made our domination look shocking. But it was just that them two maps. We're good at one of them. We're just not the one that everyone else liked to play.
Yeah. That's because I knew it was bad when even the Ravens' own social media was like memeing your domination. I'm like, yeah, like
it's bad. Like, we knew it was bad.
Yeah, obviously that's one of the things. Like as a team, you're just like, oh crap, we need to win this. But obviously, the thing is, everyone goes, oh, just improve it, just improve it. Every other team is doing the same thing. Like, no, it's not like, oh, we've just got to do X and we'll get a better result because every other team is trying to get better at the same time. And unless you manage to nail down and make a massive leap, because it is a massive leap to get forward and overtake the other teams, it's just not going to go well for you. But no, that kind of sums up the year for the Ravens. You know, like they started and everyone was hyped and it had a bit of a rocky middle, but I think in my opinion it came good at the end. So it's a very interesting kind of time with the Ravens, and I look forward to seeing them again next year. Although I will say, as a UK person and obviously a Europe advocate, if they could stop giving me heart attacks, that would be great. It's very hard to be a European Call of Duty fan, and it has been for the last decade.
It has been hard, like to be like especially this year as well. With, like even like challengers not even been able to like come out and show their talent. Like being a European player and fan right now is pretty tough. We are literally the only team that was like could be supported by that region. I reckon we probably had like French fans, Spanish fans. I reckon obviously Spanish is probably Toronto. What am I talking about? But yeah, we probably had a lot of fans in Europe because of that. Because everyone was just back home, stuck there in lockdown, just watching like London representing the in the US, and it was a good feeling, man. But obviously, there's obviously a lot of negativity that comes with the fans with that as well.
No, I 100% agree. All right, let's move on then, because I don't want to take you for several hours in this podcast. Let's talk about Cold War. You've got hands on.
Yeah.
What do you think of Cold War? Because you've played it, we've watched it. What are your opinions?
Right. So we played it on an alpha on PS4, and it felt nice. It felt smooth,
Okay.
which is a plus, right? That's a big plus to me because MW felt clunky and like choppy and stuff, right? But it felt smooth. It felt like it was well done. And I like two of the maps that you probably seen was Moscow and Miami. I think Miami's like might be a competitive map. I think Moscow looks pretty solid. I feel like it's going to be a competitive map. I feel like they put quite a lot of effort into this because like the slide cancelling was a problem. Like I picked up the controller, not like Shane was playing for like 2 hours, and then he asked Sean, "Do you want to play something? You're allowed to play on my stream." Because I didn't submit my name to play because like, it was quite a short list.
Yeah.
And Shane was like, "You can play on mine for a bit." And I went in into his stream, and literally the first time I played it, I was slide cancelling on like the third life because I was so used to MW. I just knew that if I pressed these buttons, it would break the animation, and I would be smoking everyone in the lobby because like. So like obviously I'm assuming like Priest and all that. I saw Priest in that doing it as well, so I knew it was possible. And then obviously I've picked it up in like 20 seconds, and I'm like, right, okay, I figured out it's like cancel because I was watching Priesta. So it was the fact that they've addressed that already and they say they're going to fix it is a big plus for me because that would honestly be like MWV2 because I was watching it. I think you saw Scump and the Tim the Tapman, like see that clip where Tim was losing his head and it showed like Scump slide cancelling really quick and on Tim's screen it was like completely different. Like that can't happen, and I'm glad that they're planning on changing that because that slide is like the fastest speed boost I've ever seen. It's like an AW dash. That's
Oh,
what it's like.
really?
It's so fast. If you do it on like a slight like decline, you literally go so fast. So the only good thing I'll say about the slide is that it's not like MW where you can keep doing it and doing it and doing it. It like slows down. If you do it once, you need to like break for a second and do it again. But I'm glad that they're deciding to like patch that straight away because that's like a big concern for me. But I said the fact that they're so hands on with it and they let the pros play the alpha, and obviously we've gave them some good feedback. Listen, we've already broke the slide cancel, fix it. Like so,
Good thing to get out early, right?
yeah, it feels good, man. It feels like the subs. There's a lot of love to the subs in this game. I feel like the subs were pretty OP, but they had like 2 ARs that were pretty good as well. So I feel like it's pretty balanced. I'm hoping in the next game that it goes back to like a Black Ops 3 type thing where you can use multiple guns.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I know a lot of people don't see the competitive side because people have different type of kills and you're not sure what guns are exactly better. But I like the fact that you could have different guns, and I feel like in that game there's a few submachine guns that were viable, a few ARs, and they didn't even show us all the guns in the game. So yeah, I feel like it's going to be a good year, man. I feel there'll be a lot of diversity in it as well. A lot of tactics. It's going to go down to that. I think that using different guns should be a big thing for next year. But I know people don't like it, so I don't know how it's going to play out. But I'm hoping so. I think it'll be good for the game.
I hope so. I like a more diverse meta. I always feel like it will usually devolve into a couple of gun meta, but I like the fact that there are sometimes niche guns, right? Guns that work in certain scenarios, like how close, like super close range, like the Spitfire back in the day and all that sort of stuff, right? Those sort of stuff can work, and I like seeing that with the stable gun meta because most of the time pros just get the most efficient weapon and figure it out with that, and that's basically it for a good part of the year until it gets patched. All right, Seany, let's start wrapping this up. We're going to do questions from the chat, and we'll kind of rattle through these. For both of us or whatever, do you think it's time for a player union? And if so, who do you think should be on it? I mean, I asked for a quick kind of fire question. That is not an easy question.
Yeah.
Seany, what's your first take on it? We won't spend forever on it.
Well, a players' union, obviously, I think it's probably a good idea. Like, but I'm not looked too much into it. But I feel like the more vocal people in the community have to be on it. Like, it can't be someone who's not going to say much. Obviously, I feel like it's like see if Slash is on it, I'm happy, man. That guy knows what's good for COD. So if he's on it, I'm happy. Like, he knows what's good for Call of Duty and how to make it better competitively. He might be a bit of a whiner sometimes, but he knows what he's talking about. So if he was on it, that's all that matters to me. He'd get shit done. So
yeah, I mean that's fair. I think. For me, obviously, I've always said I do believe a players' association. The players should have a seat at the table to discuss future up and coming things with the game and the franchise and the league. In terms of who's on it, I've always said they're going to need somebody who's able to dedicate time to it. I don't know if that's a player. I think player representatives to the union, absolutely fine, but there should probably be a hierarchy of somebody who can just be voted in and take care of it. Because obviously they're going to have to be paid from the players, and there's going to have to be some sort of lawyer involved, and they're going to have spend a lot of their time talking to players and meeting with CDL. A player who's currently active is not going to be able to do that as consistently as players would probably like.
Yeah.
So we'll see about how that. How do you feel about Control coming back?
I'm actually very happy for that. I think Control was like really, it was good for like a spectator, like POV. I feel like if it's done right, like attack should be losing and obviously defense should be easier. And obviously the whole point is like coming up with strats and ways to play attack. It's like I liked the way it done in Black Ops 4. I think we just started scratching the surface on like how to play it because obviously we've been playing for Search and Destroy and Hardpoint for years. We know the ins and outs of how to play those game modes, and we only had 1 year of Control. And I feel like it was pretty good. I think people liked it. It was a good swing mode. It was good. It was close, and yeah, I feel like a second year of Control. I think you're going to see it played a lot differently.
Okay.
Especially in a 4v4. I think 5v5 Control is like stack and trade, stack and trade. Like 5v5 was just stack and trade in general. I think 4v4 Control, you don't. It's like one guy can take out two people. Like in 5v5, it's not a big deal. You still have three people against four, but taking out two and it's a 2v3, it slightly gets uncontrollable. I think 4v4 Control is going to be very interesting. I feel like it's going to be a bit more like just a extended search and destroy rounds. I don't think it's going to be like fly, 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 fly. It's 4v. I might be overthinking it a bit, but I think with 4v4, I think stack and trade isn't going to be as effective as it has been the last 2 years. I feel it's going to go back to a bit more of way more like I know stack and trades like teamwork, but you know what I mean, like a less of
I know.
less of headbutting this and get a trade, more of baiting and switching and like try to like make players make mistakes and stuff. So hopefully it does go down that route. If Treyarch are like going down the route like they want to like make sure that they're banning these glitches and these slide cancels, I feel like it will go down that way. I think they want the game to be slower and more methodical, and I think that's a good way. I think that's a good way for it to go, to be honest. But
No, I agree. I'm really looking forward to seeing. I love Control. I hate Domination. So anything better than that is going to come forward for me. I just never thought Domination was a great third mode, and I hate the fact we had to do it again. Could have been worse. Could have been Blitz, but that's about the only thing I can say positive about Dom. Sean needs to visit Dundee in the future, apparently.
well, to be fair, Bryce, have you heard that? I think Dundee are making plans to build like a 4,000-seater esports arena up there.
Oh damn!
I was mind blowing. I was like, "There's no way they're building it in Dundee, not Glasgow or like Edinburgh." Do you know what I mean? Like, no diss to anyone from Dundee, innit? It's just I'm from Glasgow and I've never even been to Dundee. Like, if you're in Scotland, you go to like the two major cities. No diss, but the fact there's a 4,000 esports arena up in Dundee is mental.
I mean,
Is like
we don't have
that's
that
a good
many
thing.
events in the UK as it is.
Yeah, like I don't know where the business plan came from because esports in Scotland isn't big. I'm happy it's coming because obviously I'd happily like I'd go there and like push it and like as much as possible. Like I've been trying to help like some Scottish esports people involved in esports. We try to help them like get out there more because Scotland is like far behind. And like I said, there's only like two pros and like one coach from Scotland right now, and it's me, Cammy, and Mark, and the rest is English from Europe pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I love the fact that they're building a stadium like that in Dundee, and I probably will visit now because if that gets built, so I'll probably be in Dundee a bit. So yeah, you'll probably get your chance.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Next question: what was it about bringing Trey Zero in that had such a big impact?
Pace, just straight up pace. That was literally it. Not to judge a slow player, judge more of like a. He is slower than Trey. It was more like he was a more shoulder peak, get info, then make a play. Trey was just like go, go, go. Like him and Dylan would just be like gluing the map. Dylan was faster, obviously, because it's Dylan, but it's like Dylan needed someone who was with him all times, and it showed. Like it showed for Trey's benefit and for Dylan's. Like Dylan started playing better. Trey played unreal at certain points, like because he also had Dylan going in front of him. So like I think it worked both ways. I think Dylan was a great entry player, and then when he did go in and get that first kill, I think Trey was a great player to come in, sweep it up, and get a 2-3 piece. You've seen that a few times.
Yeah.
I'd just be scrimming or I'd be in a game. Trey would be like, "I've got one, I've got two, I've got three, I've got four." I'm like, "All right," I'm like, "Good shit, man." I'm like, "Good shit." I'm sitting L. So yeah, I think it was just pacing. Dylan just needed someone at the front line helping him pretty much. He was trying to like 1v3 people. He was too fast, and like I said, we knew our problems. We had to choose between either getting Brad to speed up, which obviously didn't make much sense because it's a Mania, or get Dylan to slow down. So we kind of we landed on Dylan slowing down.
Yeah.
So we got him to slow down. We brought Trey in. Trey was pretty fast as it was, and they were kind of at the same level. And it just worked out. Yeah, like them two were a good partnership and like running the submachine gun. So that's what helped us a lot.
Awesome. Good to hear. I think it was a great answer for that one. I see there's a lot of questions in chat, by the way, so we're not going to go through all of them. Some of them have already been answered. Some of them don't really make a lot of sense in context. So I'll pick out a couple more. Have a look. What was your favourite moment from the 2020 season?
Beating Toronto.
Beating
Oh,
what,
wait, I don't know. It could be the New York game 5. I don't know. One of them two. Flip the coin. I don't know. Toronto won. The New York one, I had like a 50-50 series, and then I smashed the game 5. But then in the Toronto game, I was playing pretty well throughout the whole thing, every map. If I was like, it has to be Toronto. It was the best moment. Like we qualified. We qualified for the top 4, and we finished it. I think it was like the petrol hard point, where I was like fucking. I was just laughing. I was telling my team during the game, I was like, boys, I'm not missing. We're winning. Like I should just say, every 50-50 I was winning. I'm like, boys, I'm killing everything. Just keep going. We're going to win. I just kept gassing it. I was like, we're winning. I'm screaming during the game, and yeah, it has to be that one because that feeling. I think I screamed that loud. My voice cracked at one point. I'm not a loud person. People like probably see me like on stage a lot when I was on LAN. I didn't get up and get gassed. I would be like, right, okay, GG's, fist bumps, right, let's go. But for some reason, it just lit the fire this year, and it was like whenever I was playing in my setup, and I was playing Toronto, and in that petrol, I remember like running to the last hill, and I was just screaming like, fuck, they were spawning P1, they had to all come through the front door. Well, I'm like, fucking start the front. I'm screaming down the mic, screaming how we're winning this, and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I'll say the Toronto game. I've just got the gas again, right? I'll say Toronto. Sorry, I ranted on there.
No, it's good.
It's
good. I love hearing it, man. It's awesome to hear how it kind of felt. That was a great question. That's why I asked. Here's another one, and I forgot to cover this actually when we talked about the Ravens, right? It's not really been spoke about here, but the departure of head coach Joe Pennington, how did that affect you and the rest of the roster?
It definitely definitely done an impact on us a little bit. Like obviously your head coach leaving.
Yeah.
Like the guy who's obviously at the head of everything. But honestly, I haven't spoke to Joe too much about it.
Yeah.
I feel like it was more of a personal thing. Obviously being out in lockdown, having family and stuff back home, and it wasn't going too well and stuff. Honestly I don't want to talk about his business. I just know that he felt like that was the best thing to do.
Okay.
But again, I don't really want to touch on him specifically. I
That's
just think it took a dent in the team 100%, but we bounced back, and I feel like Dom took the role pretty well. He obviously is the head coach now, and I feel like he's a good person for it. He's a pretty tell you what to do kind of guy. Like, listen, this is what we're doing. I don't really care what you say. Like, we're doing it. So I like that, having a head coach. So I feel like it did take a dent losing Joe, because he's obviously a great Call of Duty mind. Like, he knows just a lot about it. But I feel like Dom took the role pretty well, and he helped us a lot. So.
Awesome. Right. No, that's fair enough. Like I said, I forgot to mention that when we covered it earlier, and I thought I actually brought up by the chat. It was a great one. The rest of these questions, I think, are either too open-ended or, I mean, I don't think Seany can really cover them. Like, one's asking about the content from the Ravens. Is there going to be more next year? Sorry to tell you this, but Seany doesn't do the content for the Ravens. He's just involved in it. So I appreciate, Seany, I appreciate so much you coming on, buddy. Like, coming to talk about the Ravens and your year. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me as well. I enjoyed it. I felt like I was laughing half of this, so it was a good podcast.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Any last thing you want to say to the stream or the people listening on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever it is?
Just thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to my side of this, like my whole year and my story, and hopefully we can have a even better next year. So.
Awesome. Well, I hope so too, man. And I'm sure I'll catch up with you again in maybe a few months or a little bit longer to see how you're getting on and how the roster's all building out and stuff. So I appreciate it, Seany. Thanks for coming on, and thank you to everybody listening to the podcast. And if you want to see it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. This has been the Bricecast episode 9. I am Bryce. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.